Hello, today we're going to talk about adding fractions. Let's start with a nice simple example. Say we want to add 2/5 and 1/5. Let's go right back to basics and make sure we understand what that means. So on my diagram I'm going to shade in 2/5. That means 2 pieces out of 5. Let's just have a quick reminder of some vocabulary here. The bottom number on a fraction is called the denominator, and that tells us how many pieces our whole one is split into. The top number on a fraction is called the numerator, and that tells us how many of the pieces we've got in this particular case. So back to our example. I've got 2/5 and I'm going to add on or shade in another 1/5. It's easy to see from the diagram that I've now got 3/5, so that's our answer. Notice that all I really had to do here was add together the numerators. 2/5 add 1/5 equals 3/5. Be careful not to make the mistake of adding the denominators as well. If we did that, we'd get 3/10, and we can clearly see from the diagram that we don't have 3/10, we have 3/5. It's just like adding 2 apples and 1 apple. We end up with 3 apples, not 3 bananas or anything else. Now this example was nice and easy because both our fractions were fifths. It gets a little bit more difficult when we need to add fractions with different denominators, so we'll look at that next. In this example, I want to add 2/5 and 1/3. Have a look at the diagrams to make sure you understand what these fractions look like. Here's 2/5 and here's 1/3. Now the first step in the process is to change our fractions to equivalent fractions with a common denominator. In other words, the same number on the bottom. We're looking for a number that's in both the 3 times table and the 5 times table. In fact, it's easiest if we find the lowest number that's in both those times tables. Now the 3 times table goes 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, etc. And the 5 times table goes 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, etc. Looking at both of those, we can see that 15 is the lowest number that appears in both. So that's what we're going to use as our common denominator. Now you might be able to spot that without writing out the times tables, and if so, that's great. But if it helps to write them out, then do. So I'm going to rewrite my fractions as 15ths. And the way I do that is by thinking, what has 5 been multiplied by to get 15? It's 3, so I've got to multiply the numerator by 3 as well. 2 times 3 equals 6. For my other fraction, I think, what has 3 been multiplied by to get 15? It's 5, so I've got to multiply the numerator by 5 as well. 1 times 5 equals 5. So now I've got a nice easy fraction addition to do. 6/15 add 5/15 equals 11/15. That's our answer. Let's look at one more example to make sure you've got it. This time we're going to do 3/4 add 5/12. So first of all we need to find a common denominator, and to do that we look for the lowest number in both the 4 times table and the 12 times table. If you need to write them down to do that, then do so. You should find that the lowest number that appears in both times tables is 12, so we'll use 12 as our common denominator. So looking at the first fraction, we've got to think to ourselves, what has 4 been multiplied by to get 12? It's 3, so we've also got to multiply the numerator by 3. 3 times 3 is 9, so that becomes 9/12. Now the second fraction is already 12ths, so in this case we don't have to do anything to it. We can just leave it as 5/12. Now we've just got to add our numerators together. 9/12 add 5/12 equals 14/12. Now we could simplify that, and we could also convert it back to a mixed number. However, that's covered in another video, so we're going to leave it as it is for now. Finally, here are a couple of examples for you to have a go at yourselves. The answers will appear in a few seconds, so you may want to pause this whilst you work them out. There you go, 13/21 and 17/20. Hope you got them right.